Thokozani bogogo, thokozani bomkhulu. Ndawuwe shewe, ngibingelele bonke, ngibingelela nonke. Baphili besintu labalandela isintu. I greet each and everyone, those who are following African spirituality. I greet each and everyone wherever we are. The one who greets you, it's Mafavuke njengedangamane. Mafavuke njengedangamane, mtukulu kamakeretane. Angarantima utulatula nyama senkopolo. Ningayiboni kuzaca kodwa igcwele amafutha umgadlela kandaba inyanga mthakathi ngithi hayi angiphinde nginibingelele nonke. I hope you are all fine. You are all fine and okay. Today we have got another topic that we'll talk about. Today we will talk about cleansing of those who have passed on. Cleansing for those who have passed on. As I was talking about the cleansing, I've talked about cleansing for the dead, those who have passed on. And I've said that when death comes into a family, a dark cloud has covered the whole family as death has happened. And that very same death has also happened to the one who have passed on. It means nalo shonle naye lo wehlelwe ukufa, which means the dark cloud has covered that person. So we who are alive, we have to undergo our own cleansing. And once we have done our own cleansing, there is another cleansing that must be done for the one who have passed on. You know, when one passed on, he or she does not automatically become an ancestor that you can call upon uphahle kuye. But for a person to be an ancestor, there must be a ceremony that must be held so that the person will join ahlanganiswe nemndeni and become one with those we call upon, those we invoke, those siphahla kubo, that person who has passed on. And that person cannot go there and be together with them before that person can be cleansed. That's why cleansing will be very important, that we as a family, we cleanse first. But after that, there is cleansing that is very important for the one who has passed on, so that that person will be a good ancestor. Those people who have been to Roman Catholic, they will remember that Catholics have got those whom they call them saints. It's not that the people immediately they die, they say they are saints, then you can also talk to them to pass a prayer to God. But once those people, they have died, after some years, they held a ceremony. They say to exalt them, they sanctify them, they benedict them, so that they will become saints. We as African, because we understand the spirituality, we have a similar ceremony where the person who have passed on, we sanctify, we cleanse that person, and then once we cleanse that person, we exalt that person to join the family. Kusho ukuthi in other words, siyamgeza, after simgezile bese sesimbuyise ekhaya, simhlanganisa nemndeni. Simhlanganisa nemndeni, so that the person will be together with all other in the family, so that the person now we can call upon the person sipahle na kuye, because it doesn't mean ukuthi when a person immediately passes on, the person has become an ancestor. So it's very important, because when normally we check, most of emadlozi ebantu, they have not been cleansed. We normally call upon the ancestors who have not been cleansed, who have not been even exalted to be in the level where now they can be called as ancestors. As the Catholic, they say they exalt you to be in the level where you can be called a saint. So we also have that good. Now we exalt the person after the person has been cleansed, so that the person now, we can invoke that person, we can partner to that person as an ancestor, because it doesn't mean that when a person just immediately passes on and then automatically say we didlozi sesingaphahla kuwe. Sometimes things they don't happen because those people, they need cleansing. Those people have not been cleansed. They have not been put in a position where we can call upon them as ancestors. And then when we call upon them, nothing happened because we have not done such important ceremonies for them. Whether grandfather, grandmother, our father and mother, such ceremony have not been done. So those ceremonies are very important to be done, especially after a certain time. Last begisa khona ukuthi inyongo yalo muntu, it can be 1 year or 2 years. Last begisa khona where we find ukuthi inyongo yakhe le phansi seyiqithekile, because inyongo ngiyo lehlanganisa emadlodi, iyo lehlanganisa lefaka umuntu emadlozini, kufele iqitheke le nyongo isipile, where we are sure that now the inyongo yakhe iqithekile, then that's the time that the person can be cleansed. As I said when I was talking about the topic of the cleansing for the dead, that I won't get into a detail how the ceremony is conducted. Yeah, what I want to emphasize is to highlight the importance of the ceremony, how important the ceremony, that it must be done, because our forefathers, they used to do this ceremony. You know, these days, most of the people, they rush for tombstone. Tombstones, they are good, they are okay, so that the grave can be easily identified, and so that people, they can even praise you and see that you used to love their loved one. But tombstone, they don't have any spiritual significance. The most important thing that needs to be done is the cleansing of that person. The person must be cleansed. We do go to the grave of that person and do the cleansing. It's a pity before when we still have land, but now it's an unfortunate because we are buried as strangers. Because to be buried in a cemetery, it's a sign that you are a stranger, you are a foreigner, and you don't own anything, you don't own any land. And our people are now buried in cemeteries, which it's un-African. We are not supposed to do that. This is for strangers, people who don't have land, nomads. Those are people who are buried. But we Africans, we used to bury at home. But there are so many things now that have crept in among Africans. Some Africans now, they've got the habit of burying on top of one another. You find that it's a husband is buried on top of the wife, or the wife buried on top of the husband. It's a daughter buried on top of them. Those things are abomination. They are not supposed to be done in the African way, because how are you going to conduct a ceremony of an individual who is buried underneath? How are you going to do it? And if a person maybe they use bad muti against that grave, it's going to affect all those two people which are buried there. How are you going to conduct a ceremony if your grandfather is there? You know, African way, after all, you were not supposed, people who are not relatives were not supposed to be buried in the same place. Because sometimes when you come to fetch the spirit of your loved ones, there can be other spirits that they can hijack you, that they can also be fetched. And then you find that now at your home, you are haunted by a spirit like Umdliwa, because there's a foreign spirit that does not belong into your family. That there's a foreign spirit that does not belong into your family that has crept on now, because during the time you go into the grave, maybe to fetch the spirit of your loved ones, maybe during the cleansing, you find that there are so many other spirits there, different surnames there, that can hijack the process and also go with you. And then you find that now they cause havoc and problems there at home, they become also umdliwa, and they cause trouble within the family. Because that thing was not done in Africa. People of different surname were not buried in one place. People of different nationality were not supposed to be buried in one place. It's not supposed to happen. But because now we have become foreigners in the land of our forefathers, and even politicians, they have not helped us at all. They're just feeding their own stomach. We have accepted something that was not to be accepted, to be buried in a cemetery. In a cemetery, it's only for strangers and foreigners, landless, those who bangmuhambima, who are supposed to be buried in the cemetery. So cleansing is very important, because one does not automatically become an ancestor after one has passed on. So when a person has passed on, we cleanse ourselves and we cleanse the home, and after we have done that, we cleanse the very same person who passed on. So that, and after we cleanse that person, we exalt the person to be an ancestor, so that we can call upon that person. You know, when we do divination, we can see when an ancestor was not cleansed. Some we find that they didn't do those things. Maybe they were Christians or whatsoever. But when they've passed on, you will find them, they demand now, they want to be cleansed. They want those very same ceremony, because it's not nice now where they are, because they now need the cleansing. They also want your be part of the ancestors of the family, ancestors of the family. As I've said, that it doesn't mean that immediately when a person passes on, then the person has just become an ancestor. But there must be a ceremony that must be held. There must be the cleansing ceremony, which is very, very, very important. You see, it's a pity, because even those who are initiated, and you find out he took that ancestral spirit from his grandmother, you find that the very same grandmother was not cleansed, in which it was not supposed to be. You find that the very same grandfather was not cleansed. And that's why the person will not do well, even Ebunyangen Bake will not do well, Ebunyangen Bake, because even my ancestors, they were not cleansed. So cleansing is very important, that those who have passed on, they must be cleansed. They must be cleansed. They must undergo the ceremony of cleansing. We cleanse them. We cleanse their soul. We cleanse their spirit. So that those people, when they have passed on, they will be a good ancestors to us once they have been cleansed. As I've said, that my idea, my main aim, it was just to highlight and emphasize the importance of the ceremony. But I won't get into the detail on how the ceremony is conducted. That one you can contact me at any time. Then we can talk about how such ceremonies, such important ceremonies, that must be conducted. And now we seem as if ancestors are not answering when we invoke them. It's because most of them, they are not sleeping well. Most of them, their spirit is not resting well, resting in peace, because they have not been cleansed. They have not even made an ancestor to call upon. As I've said, that it doesn't mean that when a person passed on now, it just automatically became an ancestor. The Roman Catholics, they know about that, and they learn it from Africa, that a person does not automatically become an ancestor. To them, they say a person does not become automatically a saint, but there must be a ceremony conducted, because when death comes upon that person, that death ingolisa lo moya walo muntu, naye lo muntu owehlelwe kufa uyangola. So naye that person must be cleansed. Ati anga cleanswa, and then afakwe emndenini, afakwe asahlobile, and ngeke umfake emndenini angakahlobi, then azoba idlozi elihle, abe idlozi elihle. It's not a matter nje ukuthi hayi hamba ube idlozi elihle, but there are some ceremonies that we have an obligation that we do those ceremonies for them ukuthi babe idlozi elihle. As I've mentioned that once a bile has spilled, inyongo yakhe sabekisa ukuthi ichithekile phansi, that's a good opportunity that we can do such ceremony, because inyongo yiyo ehlanganisa ema ancestors, so that adokhona kungena kahle emndenini wakhe. Hayi siyathokoza nini nonke. Don't forget you can call me 082 802 7931 082 802 7931. Khumbule ukuthi siyahlola over the phone and siyahlola even in person. You can also come in my place in person, especially if you are far. I know that there are so many people who criticize kuhlola over the phone. Those people, they must come to us that we teach them. If you don't know something, don't criticize it because you don't know it. Because we do hlola people over the phone and they become satisfied. Some we hlola people who are overseas, wherever they are. USA, Britain, Jamaica, you name it. You name it, Belgium, German, and we do it successful and become happy. So if you isangoma, don't just criticize things that you don't know. If you cannot hlola over the phone, just come to people, come to us. We will teach you how it's done. We'll teach you, and your spirit will know how to connect with the person who is very far. Because some people, when they don't know something, they just keep on criticizing and criticizing. And that hinders them, that even when Lihlambo they can do this thing, they won't now do it because they will be ashamed to do the thing that they've been criticizing. We have been doing ngitikuhlola over the phone very successfully. So we have valelisa umafavuke njengedangamane. Sihlahla kasisho umtukulu kamakereta nahangarantima. Udula nyama senkopolo ungayiboni kuzaca kodwa igcwele amafutha. Umgadlela kandaba inyanga mthakathi. Siyavalelisa ngithi kini nonke sinduna.